Good morning, it's Shanna, and I don't know if you've noticed, but February is pretty much over. It is the 26th, or excuse me, it's the 27th today. So you're actually watching this on March 1st, which, yay, welcome to March. As it is, I have a lot of things I wanted to talk about this month, which are decks that I've brought in, decks that are going out that I have for sale, which I will link, or not link, but I will list below, and I'll also kind of go over a list just briefly here in the video as well. Decks I've used and books I've read, the guides I've worked with this month, any rituals that I did, which we'll kind of get into. I don't think I really did any rituals, but like I said, we'll kind of get into that briefly, and then we'll also go over half marathon training because I'm still in the midst of that. So let's start with the decks I brought in, because there are just 3 this month, which I was kind of surprised about, but also go me, I guess. So the first one we've kind of already briefly talked about in another video. I also made like a reel on Instagram. I don't know if you follow me there. If you don't, you should. If you want to, like, you don't have to or whatever. Spirit in Flowers Oracle deck. So, caveat, I don't know that that's the word I want. The only reason I bought this, well, I guess there's 2 reasons. The 2 reasons I bought this deck are that there are multiple color backgrounds, and I'm a sucker for that. We all know. I don't think I even included this in last week's plant deck face-off, which is ironic, or not, because I think I'm going to sell this deck. So this will be included in my decks that I have for sale. It's just not one I want to work with. It's beautiful, and as I kind of mentioned in that video, I keep buying these decks because they're pretty, and then I don't use them because I just don't use I use specific plant decks, and I just don't see myself using this one. So yeah, I mean, I won't really even take a lot of time to flip through. We'll just kind of do a quick, since it will be listed for sale. I guess so the second reason I bought it was that, as I've mentioned before, where I work, I bring in tarot decks to sell. And a lot of times I'm able to get these decks early. And this is one of them. So it came in, I just love this plant though. So yeah, it was a moment of weakness, and I wanted to get my hands on it. So I don't know. If you don't see this listed below, it's because sometime between now and when I posted, I decided not to sell right this moment. So, but I think I probably will. So this is by Seco Books. The box is not my favorite. The guidebook is fine. It's cute. You've got the language of color, superstitions and spells, the deity that it's associated with, keywords, and then the write-up. So, I mean, and then what it represents. So there's a really nice little write-up for every card. It's pretty cool. And if you're into gardening, the superstitions and spells is pretty cool. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the first one. And I guess the box is pretty. It's just, I don't know, kind of annoying. All right, next is the Seasons of the Witch Ostara, which if you've started collecting these, you probably also have it. So again, I probably don't necessarily need to flip through. And more than likely, there's full walkthroughs and flip throughs of this deck. I love the colors of this, and I think I will be pairing it mostly with this deck, which is Tarot of Strange Antlers. If you haven't seen it, I'll do a quick flip of what it looks like together. The tones are just kind of perfect, and I feel like they both feel very springy. I always get, it's funny, sometimes at the end of whatever month we're in, I start to get a little like I don't know, disenchanted with tarot or whatever. And then I realized that it's about time to switch decks for the month, and it just gives me this renewed sense of like excitement, I guess. These are the backs. Holographic sides. Sorry if you can hear that beeping. I don't know who's doing it, but anyway. Let's zoom in just a hair. But I thought the tones of this were kind of perfect. So I'm excited to pair these and play with them. And yeah, the last time I shuffled this, like 2 days ago, I accidentally shuffled in reversals. So oops, that's annoying. I'm not going to take the time to flip each one because mostly I'm just showing you the tones and the colors. I just think they look very nice together. So I'm excited to use this one. I'm not doing a very good job, especially because I keep mixing up my discard pile. Isn't that pretty though? The peaches and the spring greens. I do very much enjoy this, at least as far as the colors and the theme goes. I think it's very, I like that it's still a little bit dark. Like, you know, you can still kind of see that, you know, dark shadow aspect. Ooh, this is pretty. I think did I open this 2 days ago? 2 or 3 days ago. So I have not used it. I haven't gotten familiar with it at all. But I am excited to use it. Another one that it might look cute with is the Enchanted Forest Felines. And since we're doing pairs, I bet it would look really pretty with this Mystic Fairy. Shall we take a look? Oops, bumping things. I really like to use this Mystic Fairy in April. Doesn't quite feel very March-ish to me. Like this feels a little too sunny and warm, but tone-wise, I think this could work well for that like end of spring, or I guess mid-spring. April feels more mid-spring to me vibe. I don't love it as much as the Strange Antlers deck, but I do like it. And I do think it brings in that sunnier mid-spring vibe. So yeah, these will be a couple of pairings that I'll be using, which I'm always excited to find new pairings for things. So, garden party, cute. All right, next up is the Mystical Shaman Oracle, and I just picked this up out of my mailbox like 5 minutes ago. So we're going to do a quick open of this guy. Anyway, I've gone back and forth on this one. I wasn't sure, but I thought, you know what, I think I paid $8 for this kit. Oh, interesting. Oh my gosh, I hope this isn't a fake deck. Is this how the box looks? Oh, interesting. Oh, it's kind of like it's paper, but it's kind of hard. Oh, interesting. Okay, so obviously it's not a fake deck, but I feel like the regular box looks different. Am I crazy? I don't know. Weird. I didn't realize it came in this. Let's look. Maybe this is like a first edition or something. Looks like, I guess, first edition. I don't know. First edition, first print? Because I feel like the one that I remember seeing had like the title here. So, interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm not complaining. Cool. I am excited for this deck. Okay, so I'll be honest. I went back and forth for a very long time because I wasn't sure how I felt about working with shaman energy. I'm not sure what that means for me. Like, what does, you know, what is a shaman? What does that insinuate? Is it appropriation? I'm not sure. I'm kind of trying to decide. And maybe this deck specifically, it wouldn't be classified as that. I don't know. I'm curious. It's beautiful. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to get a second hand. And if it feels icky, then I can use it for journaling. But I did want to give it a try because I feel like this artwork will work for me. And it kind of reminds me of, in a way, the Faceted Garden, which I really like, but I just don't know if the titles on that deck will work for me. And it's another one that I've kind of gone back and forth on. I would love to get my hands on it to try it, but I don't want to spend that much on an indie deck to not have it work. I don't know. It's one of those things, you know? Sometimes you just have to spend the money. So yeah, I don't know. This makes me a little uncomfortable, but I think reading the guidebook, I'll be able to get a better feel for the intention behind this deck. And to be honest, I don't even know the creator. I know the artist is a well-known artist, Colette Baron Reed. And then I guess there's Alberto Villoldo and Marcella Lobos. I don't know. So we'll see. I'm excited to have it. I think this can be an all year round deck. It doesn't really necessarily have a specific season feel to me, which I like. I like when I can use a deck all year long and it doesn't feel limiting in that way. I mean, this is so pretty. I'm really excited to have this. Dive into the guidebook. And I feel like I could potentially pair this with the Feminine Wisdom deck, which I'm using for my guides this year. I know everybody's seen this, but I haven't in hand, so I'm going to finish flipping through the Sun. Oh, this one's so pretty. You know how sometimes you just open a deck and you're just kind of like, meh, okay, like whatever, sure, glad I have it or whatever. But this one, I'm getting a good feeling off of. I'm excited. Okay, so that is Mystical Shaman Oracle. Yes, I had to look at the title again. Excited to have it in my collection, excited to play with it. Let me know, is this normal? Is this the regular box? Or is there an updated box? I'm curious. Also weird that it doesn't like fit in there. It probably did. It looks like these have kind of pinched in a little, which I'm not super concerned about. Okay. That is all my decks that I brought in for the month. So let's take a look at decks that I worked with, because that is a different list. I got a little... Okay, so if you watched my planner journal video, you'll know this is kind of my month's dashboard. This is where I kind of keep track of the month's things versus like the daily or weekly type things. So I do keep track of my guides here, the ones that I pull for each week, which I'm doing each week throughout the throughout the year of 2025, because the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck has 52 cards, and at the beginning of the year I decided I wanted to work with one guide a month, and it was kind of perfect. Or one guide a week. I keep saying that wrong. One guide a week, which is 52 weeks, 52 cards. So my first week was Oshun for Harmony. Should we go through these? Maybe just quickly. So this is her. this week felt, I'll be honest, I keep saying I'll be honest. I don't know if that's just a thing I say. You'll just get used to that. January felt a lot more, like I felt like I related to these cards more, like it felt more relevant to whatever it was I was going through that week. February didn't quite feel that way. This first week did to a certain extent. Let me pull out the guidebook here. I feel like this deck gets a lot of, talk about, but I don't really see anyone working with it specifically. So only by learning to live in harmony with your contradictions can you keep it all afloat. And so the shadow was discord. And for this one, I liked this part. It said, let's see, begging her forgiveness. So the 17 gods and goddesses, they begged her forgiveness. They gave her the most precious gifts, thus restoring the life-affirming relationship between the masculine and the feminine. So I felt like, that kind of, that resonated for me during that week. Oshun's womb life sprang forth, her sweet and flowing waters bringing suppleness and vitality to an otherwise barren world. Harmony is dynamic, encompassing a range of voices through finely tuned scales and adjusting into variations in pitch, frequency, and tone. So for me that week in particular, like I'm going through a lot of changes at work, and there's a lot of intense emotions and a lot of opinions, and as happens when you go through big changes. So I think for me this week, that was a really good reminder to dial back the emotions a little bit. Like I have, my position is a position of, authority, I guess, which I don't know, whatever. That's such a thing for me. I don't know. Authority in general is weird for me. However, that is the reality of it. And so having that reminder that week of, watching my tone, not necessarily needing everything to be a sarcastic quip or comeback, just being calm and setting, an example of everything's going to turn out okay. Like no matter what happens, that will be okay, And so that was a good reminder for me that week. So I did appreciate that. The next week was Star with Wonder. This was one that I just, I put away at the end of the week, just not really fully understanding, I guess, the point. I didn't resonate with the message, which is always kind of frustrating for me because I feel like, you pull these cards, you pull it for a reason. Like there was a reason, but I just didn't understand it. So that one got put away without fully understanding. Now, Wolf, this was another good one. Let me find this one. So when women reassert their relationship with the wildest nature, they are gifted with a permanent and internal watcher, a knower, a visionary, who guides, suggests, and urge vibrant life in the inner and outer world. So for this week, I really felt like I was being watched, like my hand was being held this week. And I kind of felt like I needed it. Again, we're just, there's a lot of changes happening. And, when I pulled this card, I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to watch for like signs of wolf. Like we don't have wolves here. We have coyotes here where I live, but you don't really ever see them. Almost never. We do hear them at night, especially in the summer. But I thought, well, maybe I'll see a wolf on a sign or on a TV, a commercial, or I don't know. And I didn't. So that was disappointing. But it did said, wolf calls you to take your place in the seat of power. And again, like I just mentioned, I struggle with that role. I'm in it, and I feel like I play that role well enough. I hate to say that I do it well, because I don't know. I mean, I feel like I do, the little feedback that I get seems positive, but I'm not comfortable there, I guess. And so this was a good reminder of, you don't necessarily have to be comfortable. Maybe that's part of the process of learning for me. And so that was a good reminder for the week. So then the shadow of the wolf is the lone wolf, the one who puts herself before the needs of the tribe. To indulge in self-serving and allegiance to smallness dishonors the spirit of the wolf. Don't set yourself apart from the circle of being. So that was just a reminder. I mean, I don't feel like I do that, but it was good to kind of like question myself of, you know, I think one of the advantages to having a problem with authority is not wanting to separate myself as someone in authority, like over those who I have authority over. You know, it's just not my style. I don't necessarily want to be like part of the gang all the time. Like I like that feeling, but I also want to, it's kind of like being a parent. And I'm not saying like I'm parenting people at work, but it's a good reminder in those moments of like, what do I do to say, okay, I do have that ability and that authority to make these decisions and set boundaries for myself and for the people who work there, but I don't have to be a dick about it. Like, I don't know what it is about, I almost said older generations. I don't even know. Just some people in general who are bosses who just think like they get to boss people around and that you have to do what they say because they're the boss. That doesn't resonate with me. It never has. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent. Wolf was a good card for me, is my point in all of that. And then my last week, Desert Solitude. Again, I pulled it last Friday and I just don't get it. It's another one. So Desert and Star were just ones that I just didn't quite, I'm not getting the message. I don't know if I'm not reading into it enough. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. But basically what I do when I pull the card, I read the passage in the guidebook, and then at least once during the week, I try to pull it out again and sort of revisit it. And then before I pull a new card, I revisit it again, especially on the weeks where I just don't feel like I'm getting the message. Like it's not obvious. So again, I'll pull this out again tomorrow. If immaculate silence is a placenta that nourishes us, then solitude is a secret womb that wraps around us and holds us in place. I don't know. I love solitude. That's like my recharge, spiritual renewal. So I don't know. I've got another day to kind of visit this and see if I can make it make sense. But yeah, those are my guides for the week. And the practice itself has been so nourishing and fulfilling. It's something that I feel like I don't know, it's only February, but I imagine I might try to do next year as well. So anyway, as you can see, here's my list of decks that I worked with. The Line Strider and Otherkin combo. That's this here. If you haven't seen that video, I have a lot of Cielo Thomas. I can't remember her last name. I have several of her decks and I just wasn't using them at all. And so a few months back, I went through and I combined the Line Strider and the Otherkin. And since then, I've worked with it a lot. I love this combo. It's perfect together. Essentially, I just went through and, I put both decks in order. I set them side by side and I selected one from each deck for every card, and it's made all the difference. It's a deck that I have hanging here, so I use it all the time, kind of an everyday reader for me. And it was great for February. It just felt like February vibes. I will possibly, I don't know, I might put this away for March. This feels kind of like a cooler, December, January, February kind of vibe. I'm not sure. We'll see. I might keep it out. It still feels a little springy with all of these whites. I don't see this as being a summer deck necessarily, but I did use it pretty regularly this month. The next deck that I used is the Textured Tarot, and in past years, since my husband gifted this bought this and gifted it to me. In past years, I have used this deck in January. it's been strictly my January deck. Oh my goodness, I'm throwing cards. But this year, it just didn't feel like a January deck for me. So I saved it, set it aside, and I used it in February. And it was perfect. I don't think I used it as much as I used the Line Strider and Otherkins. But it has since been put away. It feels, you know, this just feels like a winter deck to me. I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's got a lot of blues in it. I don't know. It just feels like a cooler month deck. So it has since been put away for the year. And I feel like maybe, I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like maybe I've outgrown this deck a little. This isn't one that I would rehome, I don't think, even if I'd never used it. It's the one deck my husband's ever bought for me, and I feel like it would be one that I would potentially come back to eventually. So, it's beautiful. So yeah, that is the textured tarot. Next is the Black Lily. This is brand new to my collection as of maybe a month or so ago, 2 months ago. I went back on this deck for a long time, but Han, again, talked about this deck, and I just thought, you know what, it's not terribly expensive as indie decks go, so I purchased it and really enjoyed it. This is another that I sort of feel like is a winter deck, and maybe it's the whiteness, you know, the borders, all the white space, whatever, I don't know, but it has since also been put away. For now, I'm not sure exactly its job or its space. What is happening within my collection? But for now, I've set it aside. You know, I have others that I want to work with, and I feel like this might be one that eventually kind of has a job. But what that is yet, I don't know. But I'm happy I have it. It's beautiful. And yeah, that's the, man, I saw one that's maybe upside down. Yes. And that is the Black Lily Tarot. Next is the Kai Love Tarot. And I know it's a big surprise because my list is right there, but that's okay. This one, what did I pair this with? Was it Dream Song? I feel like it might have been. I paired this with, I believe, Dream Song. If it's not, I will put the title on the screen because I shared a picture of that spread on Instagram, and I just thought it was so beautiful together. This is a very much a February deck. I bought this probably March of last year, and so I've kind of just not used it all year. So I pulled it out. I didn't use it a lot, but it feels very February. I will say this number on every single card is not something I ever noticed before in anyone's walkthroughs, and I don't recall anyone ever mentioning it. But I'm going to mention it here because it's exceptionally distracting. I don't understand the point. I've looked on, you know, their Etsy listing. Like, what the hell? It's super annoying. I'll be honest. I don't get it. Is that their signature? Like, I mean, I guess if it's your signature, okay. But it's irritating. I don't know. So it's distracting. It kind of pulls me out of the art. But overall, I like the deck. It was fun to use, and I'm obsessed with these backs. They remind me of Baba Studio's backs. I don't know why, but which I don't have any Baba Studio decks. These are the edges. Quite pretty. They're matte. Anyway, well, maybe they're not. Yeah, maybe like a satin. They're a little bit shiny. So anyway, that's the Kai Tarot love. And actually, I keep saying Kai. I realized a couple days ago that the K-E-I, that's the creator's name. So I'm going to assume, I just need to try and remember, it's probably K Tarot. I don't know. I have no idea. Last deck that I used was the Dream Song Oracle. I didn't do a lot of taroting this month. I'm not sure why. No idea. This is one of my favorite oracles though. This came to me in December. I purchased it rather in December. This is another that feels like a winter deck. I don't think I'll use this in the summer. I don't know, it just feels cold to me. Temperature wise, not in what mood or whatever. I love this deck. It's gorgeous. It pairs really well with a lot of my stuff. It pairs well with Little Bird Tarot. I love the guidebook. I love the titles. It's one of those perfect decks. So yeah, that is all I used this month, and I'm okay with that. I have a whole new lineup for March, well, spring in general. So, okay, let's talk about spell work, of which I did none this month. So I've been trying to do this full moon section and new moon section. I'm not exactly sure what I wanted to write there, but like last month in January, I had like a little spell that I did. New moon, obviously I skipped. I did journal for full moon. So I thought maybe for March, what I need to do is, rather than putting a ritual here, I don't know, a ritual or a spell, I really want to fill this in. It's very important to me to get that filled in. So today's the new moon. I do have something in mind that I want to put here, so we'll see if that happens. But then this is just from the Witch's Spell a Day Almanac. I've talked about these books before. This will be my third year having these. And I just like to go through, I'll go through like at the beginning of the week, and I'll flip through, and if there's anything that I want to do or that I want to remember or that I find particularly interesting, I pull it out, I cut it, and I use it in my journal, in my Book of Shadows, in my grimoire, whatever we want to call this book. And I really liked this, the amethyst sorting for clarity. I have an amethyst, a big one, on my morning altar in my closet. So I thought I would do this one, but it was for before in bulk, and I didn't do it. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put it in my journal. And because I have a table of contents in each of my journals with, spells and rituals and all the things, it'll be easy to come back to and find. Decks for sale. I will list all of these below as well. And I'm not pulling out all the decks, but I will tell you, I've got the Animal Guide rune cards, Black Violet Tarot, Dark Crystal Tarot, the Millennial Tarot, Moonology. This one's a maybe. I just pulled Moonology out again this morning because someone mentioned using their star code oracle for specific times throughout the year. And I wondered if I couldn't combine the Moonology and the star codes. So I'm going to be playing with that one. So this is a maybe. The Mushroom Hunters, Mushroom Oracle, Pocket of Vines Tarot, which I would ideally like to trade for the Forest Lore Tarot, which is out of print. No one seems to be selling it. If you have it and you're interested, please reach out. I'd be very interested. Scarab and Dahlia, or trade for the Forest Lore, Tarot of the Animal Lords, which is out of print. Again, trade for the Forest Lore. The Answer is Simple Oracle, Under the Oak Tarot, and White Numan. And essentially, especially on the mass market, I'm just, I'm selling it for about $5 less than you can get it on Amazon, and I'm not charging you shipping. I just want to kind of get it in someone else's hands so that it's not mine anymore. So that will be listed below. What next? Oh, okay. Books that I read. Actually, before we do books that I read, let's do crystals that I bought this month because I want to utilize the tabs I have open on my iPad before it dies. So crystals have always been something that I've enjoyed. Even as a teenager, before I really even got into witchy things, I've been buying crystals. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those left. Like, you know, I went through my Marie Kondo phase, got rid of a lot of that stuff. So I've slowly been bringing a few things back in. I'm not super obsessed. I'm pretty selective. Generally speaking, if I'm out and I see one that I like, I might pick up one or two here or there. And on occasion, I've purchased for a specific spell or a ritual or a season. And so this last, as we kind of transitioned out of winter into spring, which I know like technically we haven't yet, but I switched up my altar and I did a lot of like clear crystal quartz and pinks, like the, rose quartz. And that was exceptionally enjoyable. Like I have this here as well. I want to say this is, that's the other thing. The bad thing is I don't know all the crystals and sometimes I forget to write them down when I purchase. So I'm not sure what this is. If you know and you would like to chime in, I would love to know because I need to start keeping track of what they are so that I can actually use them. Point being, I thought, you know, it would be nice to be able to more intentionally bring in the month or the season on my altar versus just like maybe, I don't know, several months of kind of the same thing, which is what I've been doing. I've been lazy with it. Let's put it that way. So I really wanted to bring in some pinks, and I knew that for March, I really wanted to bring in some greens, which I already have a lot, I don't know, 3 or 4 different crystals. So I wanted to bring in at least one other for this layout that I kind of have going on my altar right now, which I guess I can show you. Oops, I'm just going to break things as I stand up. So we're going to undo my camera here. I'll bring you down and show you my altar, which I'm pretty proud of. I love it. I like the layout of it. I've got like my athame here, if that's going to focus. Will it focus? I don't know. Anyway, got like a little snail shell. I've got one of my little goddesses, Hestia. So yeah, this is my spring altar and I'm pretty pleased with it. This is my week guide. So let's put you back up here. So I brought in a few. So I went to get, actually, what happened was I watched Mystic Man's commercial, oh my gosh. I watched her video about, I don't even remember the title, but she talked about crystals. And I was super inspired to kind of just bring in a couple other like specific things that were like general crystals. So one of the first ones I purchased was just this clear crystal quartz. And I do have other clear crystal quartz, but I wanted just a little tower, you know. I think I'd like to get at least one tower for each of my altars that I set up. And so I didn't have one. And so I brought this one in. I thought it was beautiful. Next is I did get the green moss agate, which I guess is, I'm totally cheating on my iPad because I don't know crystals well. Stability, abundance, focus, and then the energy is, I guess the moss agate is known as the gardener's stone. And I just thought this was really pretty. It's got like this, I really hope this is in focus. Who knows? If it's not, I'm so sorry. The gardener's stone. Moss agate connects you to nature's humble, ever-changing potential. I just, I liked it. It's green. It fits the energy, and it will look nice on my altar for March. So, lastly was an impulse buy. I have a beautiful crystal shop near my house, and she brings in the best stuff. And so this apparently is bumblebee jasper with pink opal. I'm not sure why it's pink opal. I guess there's some pink here. But I thought this would be a gorgeous like June, July, August stone for my altar. So yeah, that was an impulse buy and I have no regrets. I just liked it because it was pretty. So next, books that I read. I finished in February The South of the Buttonwood Tree, which is this image here. This one, I listened to it on Audible. Okay, I adored the way the narrator read this book. I read another one, or listened to another one by the same author, Heather Weber. What's the other one I read? Because I know you want to know, I would want to know. Midnight at the Blackbird Cafe, which I also enjoyed, but I enjoyed this one more. This one I felt like, and I don't know, maybe the other one was written first. I don't know. It seems like maybe this one was written next because I felt like the characters developed better than the other book. The storyline flowed well. I enjoyed it very much. And the way the narrator read was just spot on. I felt like I could see the characters in my mind. I could hear them. So it was based in a small town in Alabama. The main character is Blue, and she has a knack for finding lost things, and she's tasked with tasked with caring for a baby that she finds in the woods. And I don't know if you are like me, but as a little girl, that was one of my favorite games to play with my friends, is that we would find a random baby in the woods or on the street or left on my doorstep, and I had to take care of this baby. I don't know, maybe that's a me thing. It was perfect, and it was a cute story, and I would definitely read something else again by her. Magical realism, spot on, perfect. Next thing that I read was The Secret Life of Bees, which is my second reading of this book. I guess I can stop saying that I don't reread books because I feel like this is probably my third book that I've reread, but as a general rule of thumb, I don't. Like, I've already read it. I know how it ends. Why would I do that again? I don't know. But this one, I really wanted to come back to. The energy of the book is beautiful. The characters are, like, I felt like I could reach out and touch them. I tabbed this book as I went because there were just so many pieces of just, like, wisdom or funny things or just the way things were written. It was just, there were a lot of beautiful pieces in this book, and it's something that I wanted to keep and revisit and potentially, if I wanted to read it again, be able to kind of contrast and compare where I was when I read it the second time versus reading it the third time. And I don't know what's happening to my voice, but apparently I'm losing it. So basically, Lily, I believe she's about 13. She runs away from her abusive father straight to the home of 4 beekeeping sisters who know the secret of her mother's death. But she doesn't realize that until, part of through the story. And it's just gorgeous. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend. I mean, I feel like you could read it from anywhere between I feel like anyone between maybe 15 and 16. I think anyone above the age of 16 or 17, 15 would enjoy this story. Beautifully written. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. This author also wrote The Mermaid Chair, which I read a few months back. That was my second reading of that book as well. I have looked to see if she has other books because I really like her writing style, and she does have a few others, but her others are kind of religious-based, Christian religious-based, which these I didn't feel like this one or the other one really were at all. So I probably won't be reading any of her other books. Anyway, my last book that I read for this month, and I have the jacket downstairs, so apologies. This is Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. Oops, I figured I would do that. Yes, Brene Brown. Atlas of the Heart. I really hope, I keep saying I hope I'm in focus, and I feel like I'm just not. So man, I really hope this whole video isn't out of focus, because that would suck. Okay, so I tabbed a lot in this book, at least for my standards. Maybe some of you tabbed more. This was fun. This was another two-person read that I did with my best friend. We just basically, we went through and we did about 10 pages each night, give or take. And then we would check in with each other the next morning. And it's fun to do. I mean, we text each other almost daily anyway, but it's fun to contrast and compare the way we interact with the passages. And there were several parts of this book that not only resonated with me, but I felt like I was getting something out of that I could apply to my personal life, my love life, my work life, life as a mother. There were a lot of things. I feel like I'm working through right now, kind of trying to recognize my own emotions, because I'm not sure that I'm very well. I don't think I'm very good at it. And I just started realizing this a few months ago, that I'm not sure. So this was fun to go through, and I really want to be able to kind of come back to and revisit these concepts. See, I would 10 out of 10 recommend, and I'm not much of a self-help kind of book reader. I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it. They're a little dull for me. But this was good. This was an easy read. I like her writing style and her tone. She's casual without being like she doesn't try too hard, you know? Sometimes you get those authors that it feels like they're trying too hard to be like cool and hip and funny and quirky. So I enjoyed this. And I don't know if you noticed, but look at these end pages. This is gorgeous. So yeah, I don't know, recommend. Here's the contents, because I'm really bad at explaining what the book is about. So enjoyable, something I will keep and hold on to, at least for the time being. And I highlighted it, so I don't see it going anywhere. And that is the last book I read in February. I also think that might be everything on my list. Oh, okay. So my half marathon training is my last topic of discussion for the week. Back in October, I took a week off of running, which is death to any kind of routine. I know it. I know better than. But we traveled to Texas to visit my oldest daughter, and I didn't want to pack an extra pair of shoes and extra running things. So I thought I'll just take the 1 week off and I'll hop right back in. Well, we got back and I got sick for like a month. So that was, all of November. And then sometime early December, I just started having this hip pain. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older. There was something tight in the back of my hip that came around to the front of my hip, and it hurt to walk. Like, I was taking ibuprofen multiple times during the day, and I've never really dealt with anything like that before. So I didn't want to run. I didn't want to injure myself more and put myself out for the whole, training season. So I didn't run. And in my stubbornness, I didn't stretch either, which was what I needed, because in January, like end of January, I pulled out my foam roller and I just started stretching. I was using, I actually bought one of the foam rollers with like the nubs on it. And within, I want to say 6 or 7 days of doing that, it was all but gone. So I'm an idiot. I should have been doing that all along. And lesson learned, even though, I already knew. I knew why I was using it as an excuse. It was a good excuse, but I wasn't doing anything about it. So all of that to say, I want to say 3 weeks ago, I installed the Runna app so that I could have someone else to, I don't know if you're seeing a theme here. I need a lot of hand holding this year. I just do. So I'm just leaning into it. It is what it is. I needed someone else to create a running plan for me. I'm a running coach. I trained as a running coach, so I know how to do it. I just didn't want to. I wanted someone else to lay it out for me, put it on paper, and tell me what to do. So that's what I did. Got the app, installed it. I've been slowly coming back into it again. So yeah, it's been good. I've been doing it 3 times a week is where I'm at right now. So that'll go for 8 weeks. I think it takes me through the end of March, if I remember right, or early April. And then I'll jump into, I'll probably do another, like, I want to say it's probably another 6 weeks of a little transition period. And then I'll go into the training plan that I planned for myself, which starts in May. And that'll take me through August, which is the half marathon. And I'm determined to do it. So that's where we are. I've been doing my spreads for the training. Just, these last couple of weeks, I've kind of checked back in with myself, and I've been using the Antique Anatomy Tarot, which I bought specifically for this purpose, to train, and it's been great. I've loved it. I've kind of always wanted this deck, but it's not really something I saw myself using. So for this specific purpose, it's been perfect. So I have a spread that I do monthly. I have one that I wanted to do, but didn't in January. I'll also do it in April, June, and July as check-ins. And then I've got one for May, June, and July as check-ins. And then my final spread I'll do in August. So I'm excited. It's been fun, and I like incorporating tarot into the process. So combining 2 things that I love to do. I've enjoyed the company. I've gained a lot of new followers these last couple of weeks, couple months. So thank you for being here. Thank you for following. If you haven't followed, please hit the subscribe button, as they say. And I will catch up with you guys next week.